Whatever goes around comes around. As you sow, so shall you reap. With the measure you use, it will be measured to you. Really? Says who? Whatever. Who makes this stuff up anyway? Is it just general observation and assessment over the years? Somebody comes up with this stuff? Is it boogeyman scare tactics to keep kids in line? Aren't we just a random compilation of evolved organic systems with neither intention nor purpose? A haphazard stew? That's what they've taught us. Is there really no grand scheme? Behave yourself, boys and girls. Santa's making a list, and he's checking it twice. What is reality? Is there truth? Is there a real truth which orchestrates and conducts the symphony of nature? Could it be that the surround of nature is the score to which we stage our lives as the central characters of a dramatic opera? There's a lot of talk these days about flat earthers. You know what that is, flat earthers? No, you haven't heard about that? Look up on the internet. Whoa, it'll take you for a ride. I know people who seriously believe it's a whole thing. You look like, what? Check it out, just punch up flat earthers. They actually believe we live in a snow globe model. Flat disc like a pizza. Antarctica is not at the bottom, but it's actually a wall. It's like a mile, I mean, however high it is, a wall around the perimeter to keep us in, and a dome over the top, which is on display, that looks like the stars in the heavens and a hemisphere. It's a whole thing. We're not a globe in a solar system, in a galaxy, in a universe. Really? Says who? Whatever. It's just a waste of mind time to even entertain the notion. Yet I've had hours of conversation with people who are really, really, really emphatic about it. And then you ask them, well, what's the significance? Why even go there? Well, consider the ramifications. If we have merely evolved as shrapnel scattered from the Big Bang, then there's no overlording principles, no mandates to contemplate. We're just here, specks that are moving and talking. But if we're specimens in a petri dish of a flat earth encased dome lid, whose lab project are we? Who's looking? What are they looking for? Do we have parameters? Is the model actually a model? I know that people hear voices, otherworldly, giving instructions, suggestions, advice. It's virtually like Jim Carrey in the Truman Show. Could it be so? Not is it, but could it be so? And if so, what would that mean? It would mean that instead of this being a random thing that just happened to be here, this place was very specifically built and is being observed. Every trivial thing. It's not a meaningless fluke of coincidentally ordered disorder. The whole notion that whatever goes around comes around is a truism, yet can only be true if it's by design, programmed, and controlled, and specifically arranged, geared, mechanized to be so. So that renders the concept of lordship. A lord, a master, a sovereign who has either commanded it to be so or manipulates circumstances around us to make it so, intentionally, specifically. Like, as a model, the geocentric universe model, the Earth in the middle of the whole universe, which Copernicus did away with, but that, people say, is a scam, intellectual. We are the center, the axis, the fulcrum, upon which all else turns. Every action and every motive designs and sets up, like a row of dominoes, a slew of repercussions, reactions, and responses. Picture a pond of water, perfectly still, and a single drop of rain. The ripples extend all the way to the shore, to the edge of the world. Water, hydraulics, fluid mechanics, physics, it works on purpose and systematically. You can calculate and chart every nuance of the effect absolutely. Temperature, mass, velocity of the drop on impact, the depth of the pool reservoir, it's all mathematics by design. If one single person, all alone on the face of the earth, does something, says something, thinks something, what ripples are generated? A biophysicist told me, I don't know how they do this, but they can register 20,000 miles away the effect of somebody's thoughts. Who's they and how do they do that? I don't know, but that's what she said. Now picture a storm unleashing millions of drops on the face of that pool. All the mathematics and physics still work the same. It's just really complicated. But nothing has changed according to how it works. What goes around comes around. The measure you use will be measured to you. You reap what you sowed, and a man's way will be returned upon his own head. That's the word mishfat in the Hebrew language. It means balanced scales, equity, justice. The writer of Psalms describes it to be the very foundation of the throne of Yahweh, the creator of the heavens and the earth. The foundation of his throne. Is religious liturgy and ritual an attempt to sway the divine arm of deserved consequence? That concept is rebuffed by Amos, prophet in the Old Testament, who said, "Let mishpat be revealed like water and righteousness like a mighty stream." Sounds poetic, but there's not much to stand on with that translation. This is my take on it. Looking at every word in that sentence. As water, just like water, which finds its own level and by nature registers the smallest incremental vibration. It registers right there on the surface. The slightest tilt out of level, and it will compensate, move it back and bring it back to level. Clearly evident, the truth of the matter, is this balanced even or not? Then victory is the yield when righteousness is the measure. The scales tip. It's by design, so count on it. Bank on it. our tonic, that's a word used, our tonic to correct any situation, not only in our life, but in the bigger scales, is to make equity, just balanced scales, in our own life. Really? He said so. Forever. There's this picture that how I've tried to wrap my mind around this whole thing. There's this lever, a balance like a teeter-totter. And you've got an overwhelming force of bad guys. And on our side is another set of scales, such that what we put into these scales to tip this balance in our own life, even if it's being Miss Rodeo, or if it's being the house painter, or if it's mowing somebody's lawn, how you do it, what you do, the measure that you use is going to set up either its righteousness or its wickedness. The same exact word righteousness in Hebrew, zadakah, literally means victory, deliverance, and salvation. From who? From this guy. So we do righteousness, and it puts a certain weight, which tips the scales, and we are above that. But if we don't, it tips the scales, and that guy dominates. So there's this little prayer, thy kingdom come, thy will be done. Really? The throne of that guy is based on Mishfat. In our hands, in our world, we control it. It's not invoking, we're making it happen. Really. While we can. You got your side of the scales loaded with every detail. That's the best you can do. It's almost like this lever has a pin in it, and we load our sides, and when we're ready, the pin is pulled out, just like Judgment Day. You've done everything you can, and all of a sudden, win or lose, and we set it up.